All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah,
Today we're talking all about plant reproduction.
that's right.
So we've got this knowledge organizer
Okay.
on life cycles and reproduction.
Right.
And, plants are way more complex than
Oh.
a lot of people realize.
They seem, yeah,
Yeah, so let's get into it.
for sure.
Plants are just like chilling in the sun, right? Like soaking it all up.
Not exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they do need the sun to,
Right.
create their energy and stuff through photosynthesis.
Right.
But they also have these really incredible ways of reproducing
Okay.
and ensuring the survival of their,
Their species.
their species. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not just about sitting there and looking pretty.
Right.
They're actively working
For
to
sure.
create new life.
So,
And they do this in a couple of different ways.
yeah.
One of the ways is called asexual reproduction.
Yeah.
And this is where a single plant can create an exact copy of itself.
So that's like
A clone.
cloning.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can think of like a strawberry plant.
Yeah.
You know how strawberry plants send out these little runners, like those long stems that kind of like creep along the ground?
Right.
At the end of that runner,
Right.
a new plantlet will form,
Oh, wow.
which is a perfect clone of the original plant.
So like when I see like a huge patch of strawberries,
Yeah.
it could all be from the same plant.
It could all be from one original plant.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not just strawberries.
Okay.
Potatoes, for example.
Uh-huh.
You know those little eyes that you see on a potato?
Mm-hmm.
Those are actually buds.
Okay.
And each of those buds can grow into a whole new
potato plant.
potato plant, exactly.
Oh.
And then you have other plants like
Yeah.
tulips and onions
Okay.
that grow from bulbs,
Okay.
which are essentially these like underground storage units, packed with nutrients and genetic material.
So every time I plant a tulip bulb,
Mm-hmm.
I'm planting a clone.
You're essentially planting a clone.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty
I don't know.
efficient way for plants to reproduce,
Especially.
especially in environments where
Sure.
things are pretty stable.
Right. If it works, it works.
Exactly. So if the parent plant is doing well,
Yeah.
then, it makes sense for it to just create
Just create more of it.
little copies of itself. Yeah.
Yeah. But doesn't that limit the genetic
That's a really good point.
diversity
Yeah.
if they're all the same?
So that's one of the
Mhm.
potential drawbacks of asexual reproduction.
Okay.
It's great in
Yeah.
stable environments,
Okay.
but if there's some kind of change,
Like a disease or
like a disease,
something.
yeah, or like a pest
Yeah.
that the parent plant is susceptible to,
Mm-hmm.
then all the clones are also going to be susceptible,
They're all going to get wiped out.
potentially.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And that's where sexual reproduction comes in.
That's like,
Yeah. This is where we
They're
get
in flowers and stuff.
Exactly.
yeah,
Flowers are all about
Yeah.
sexual reproduction.
cool.
So this is where you have
Yeah.
the mixing of genes
Okay.
from two different plants.
Okay.
And it starts with pollen.
Pollen.
Yeah. Those tiny little grains
Okay.
that are produced by the anther,
Right.
which is the male part of a flower.
The male part.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that pollen has to somehow get
Okay.
to the stigma,
Okay.
which is the female part of the flower,
Got it.
often on a different flower.
So
Yeah.
how does that happen?
Well, that's a great question.
They can't just like walk over.
Right? They can't just walk over.
Right.
So plants have evolved all sorts of
Mm.
really fascinating ways to make
Yeah.
this happen.
Okay.
Some plants rely on the wind
Okay.
to carry the pollen.
The wind. Okay.
Yeah, so the wind just kind of like
It just blows it around.
blows it around and hopefully it lands on the right spot.
Right.
Other plants have these really amazing
Yeah.
relationships with insects and birds and even bats
Whoa. Okay.
that act as pollinators.
So it's like a whole delivery service.
It's like an old delivery service.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to attract these pollinators,
Different.
flowers have all sorts of
Adaptations.
adaptations.
Gotta go track them.
Yeah, like bright colors,
Oh, right.
enticing scents,
Mm-hmm.
and even like specific shapes
Wow.
to fit certain types of pollinators.
So they're like,
It's really amazing.
I'll try to get the delivery service.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so once that pollen reaches the stigma,
Okay.
it actually travels down a tube
Yeah.
to reach the ovary
Okay.
where it fertilizes the ovule,
Mm-hmm.
and then that ovule develops into a seed.
So the seed is like the
The seed is like the baby plant.
baby plant.
Yeah. And then that seed
Yeah.
can be dispersed in various ways.
Yeah.
So, through wind or animals or water,
Right.
and then
Starts the cycle over.
starts the cycle all over again. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of like
So both ways are really important.
they're both really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Asexual reproduction is great
Mm.
for like
Yeah.
quick multiplication, you know?
Yeah.
Especially in stable environments.
Yeah. If you find a good spot,
Exactly.
keep making copies of yourself.
Right.
But then sexual reproduction is
Yeah. That's where you get the
important for diversity.
diversity and the adaptability.
Right. Because, like,
Yeah.
things are always changing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's good to have.
So you need to be able to adapt.
You need to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty amazing
Cool.
how these different strategies have evolved
Yeah.
to ensure the survival.
So next time I'm looking at a flower, I'll be thinking about all that.
Yeah. You'll see it in a whole new light.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
See you next time.